Okay.
Hold on.
Well,
Hold on.
here in
India, hold on, okay? Hello, this is attorney Vince Davis, and this is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Miss Georgette Truin. Miss Truin, how are you this evening?
I'm good. Thank you so much.
And we're joined by Mr. Darren Guai. Mr. Guai, how are you?
I'm doing all right, Mr. Davis. Thank you for asking.
And just that quick, we lost our guest, India. She was raring to go, and I guess her internet went out,
Oh, you scared her.
or, or I scared her. So I'm gonna add our second guest to the show right now. Is it
Oh,
Miss Chloe?
Hi, attorney.
Hi, how are you? Those are quite some glasses you have on there.
Thank you. And it's the one that wants to go last that's about to be on Front Street.
Okay, I don't understand what you just said, but okay.
It's the one that wants to go last that looks like I might have to go first.
Yes. Oh, you know what? I think we might have got India back, but India's just stand by. Oh, Chloe. All right, she wants to go first. Hold on. All right, so here we go again. Let's try it again. India, you back? India? India, can you hear me?
oh,
Hey, Grace, it's nothing like vetting these internet connections before we start, right? India, can you hear me? No, can't hear her. Unfortunately, I think India is having some internet technical difficulties. I've been there. Happened to me today. I was in court online, and all of a sudden, my internet went out. Internet went out. I don't know why. So, folks, we have Miss Chloe. I hope Miss Chloe's ready to appear as a guest on the show, because I'm gonna have to bring her back right now.
no, she's.
Miss Chloe,
Yes, sir.
how are you?
I'm here.
What state are you coming to us from?
The Sunshine State,
California or Florida?
Florida.
Okay, alrighty. So, what's going on with you and CPS in Florida?
Well, um, watching your videos, I
Hey, Chloe, let me ask you something. Are those glasses a fashion statement, or a kind of a maybe a mask, so to speak? What do we got going on with those glasses?
a little bit of both. I do plan on taking them to the doctor to get further medication in them, but they do make it to where I can see a little bit better further away.
Oh, okay, okay. So they're real glasses then. Okay. So go ahead. Tell me what's going on with CPS in Florida.
Okay, so I just heard you tell Miss India that you would kind of lead and guide her. I am very known to take someone to Georgia and back in this case, and to California and back. So my question for you would be, where would you like for me to begin?
Well, do you have a CPS case right now?
Yes, I do. Active.
And it's in Florida?
It is in Florida
Okay.
and in another state.
It's kind of hard to have two CPS cases in different states.
Yes, sir. So I just make a long story short before I get into any further details to
Hmm.
make it make sense. Um, it is not only confusing and tiring, but it is a overlap for one case in the aspect of CPS, and then as soon as CPS gets involved into your life and business, then if you have any other endeavors going on in life, that now becomes a revolving door. Then we have security negligence, where I pretty much got shot at my home last year. Bystanders was running through my yard. I was hit with a ricochet bullet, along with other endeavors, of course, while my CPS case is active. That's a whole nother story. We have Rosie the nosy neighbor with the what is that called? Defamation of character, calling the police and giving over exaggerative and fabricating stories, but got a lot going on at her home. And then we have conflict of interest with the original case manager that was on the case, where several different, what you have taught me, 42 USC 1986 would apply.
1983.
Oh my gosh. Okay. 1983. I swear I wrote this down. Okay. And I am married and my husband is present. And you have that tidbit. We are a blended family. It's a lot. So I just don't want to behold the time or, so I just.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you have any questions for any of us this evening?
That's the issue, sir. I'm not for certain 100%. I've sat down majority of the night, morning, and evening just to figure out exactly what to ask. So I'm going to slowly start bit by bit, and you can kind of chime in and let me know where to stop at. To begin with, the 12th, well, to make it make sense, let me backdate. In 2020 of January 24th, I turned myself in. I am from what I like to call Dead Oak, and it's pronounced Live Oak, Florida, Suwannee County. I had a warrant for a violation of probation traffic ticket where I was expecting my first child with my husband and already had 2 children. After doing a month's time, I want to say, or less than a month, I got out the 12th of February. In that time frame, my mother came to the jail without my permission for a power of attorney. This is not what we agreed upon, to move them out of the schools that we put them in by her house, to place them with my 80+ year old grandmother who has glaucoma. Moving forward, as I had pretty much gotten my taxes, got a car, and okay, let me back up. The case originated in and is originating in Hillsborough County, Tampa, Florida. I unfortunately have already had a history with CPS in Suwannee County, where I'm from. I've been in Tampa, Florida since 2019. And before any of this started in Tampa with the aspect of CPS, I pretty much wanted to get myself together before I went and got back, got my children from my relative's home. My son and my daughter have different fathers, and my son asked me not to send him to his father's, or he didn't want to go over there anymore. I'm a strong believer in letting children decide where they want to and who they want to be around, and especially if it's to the aspect that it is with my situation. So I expressed this to my mother, only for her and for me to, as so to speak, hear it through the grapevine while I'm in jail, that my son is to his home, asking others for food, not properly dressed. CPS case not going on, but it could have easily been going on with just that factor alone. Moving forward, go and get my son from my son's stepmother, who went and pretty much got him from the father/grandmother's house. And maybe a month or so after that, did a surprise visit in Live Oak. I told my grandmother I was picking up mail, but I was picking up mail and picking up my child, my oldest daughter. Upon getting there, sir, I pretty much have kind of been raised by my grandmother, and I am the black sheep on both sides. The police has called on me. When the police gets there, the police tells me, I tell him the whole entire story, the truth. I just got out of jail. I had this going on. I had that going on. And he tells me, okay, so this is what's going to happen. You're not getting your kid back. You're going to get in your car. You're going to go to Tampa, and you're going to do whatever you need to do down there to get your kid back. And I said, oh, well, I can see you didn't do your research well, officer. Because if you did your research, you would have came with backup and reinforcement. First off, I am going to get my child tonight. And when I'm done with you, I'm going to sue the badge off you, B. Specifically, my exact words. So he proceeds to attempt to yank and pull on me, and my husband's trying to like snatch me before, I guess he's trying to tase me, handcuff me, whatever have you. We're also trying to explain to him like, hey, she's pregnant. It now has gotten into a whole escapade and an unnecessary situation because of lack of knowledge. After the sergeant got there, in my city where I'm from, everyone knows everyone. He remembers me from my juvenile days. He remembers a prior case where I had been a victim of sexual molestation, specifically reminding me that he remembered me from that case. And he asked me what paperwork was my mother about to come from Madison, Florida to Live Oak, Florida to present to where I couldn't get my child. And I told him that only thing she had was a power of attorney. He said, a power of attorney? I said, a power of attorney. He was like, my gosh, I'm about to lose my job. He's like, see, I can't let the child go with you and you not have custody, but I also can't let you leave and you do have custody and you go file something. So I'm just trying to keep my job, and I'm also trying to keep the peace. My mother gets there. My sister gets out the car. She starts cussing and, oh, this, that, the third, and the fourth. And end of the story, my daughter went with me. But I've had different endeavors where the police has been falsely accused and called on me. And it's always because I've had the history that I've had, my word against their word. Now moving forward, my son, you did say, Miss Grace, not to say names, right? My son E pretty much began to, at the time he was 7, this was 2021. So let me speed it up. This was 2021. COVID had began. I had our daughter. Our daughter was born with a birth defect, and I did not find it suitable to have them go to school, possibly exposing not only themselves, but our smaller baby. He begins to act out. He begins to act irrationally. Before I got married and got with my husband, me and my children used to have what I like to call triangle talk. It was just, 3 of us, someone pass an object, speak freely, something that wasn't done for me as a child. So I've always tried to be better than what I was raised and or taught or exposed to. Now it's getting to a point to where they was doing Zooms, they was doing virtual school. We was in a shelter apartment program from a nonprofit organization to where we was going to be getting moved into a apartment with paid utilities up to a year, including security deposit and whatnot. Just about to walk through that door, me and the social worker at the school had been speaking, and I was telling her the issues and problems that I was having. And this is something else that really grinds my gears. There's a lot of people, especially people of my color, that is ashamed to ask for help. However, I was not ashamed. I asked for help. Not only did I get judged, but it wasn't even the social worker from the school that picked up the phone and called CPS. I've been communicating with you. My son's doing this. Now my son is stealing. Now my son is stealing out of stores. I got angry. I spanked him. He is light skinned, so he kind of had marks. I spanked him with a belt specifically, and he had marks apparently that popped up the next day because I had allowed him to go to what I thought was a friend's home, only to not only discover that I had apparently left marks, but she picked up the phone and called the police and called DCF because I was already en route to her house to pick my son up to get him some school clothes so he can start going to school in person. The social worker had pretty much came out to the apartment with the guidance counselor for me to sign paperwork for the SEEDS program so he can get psychological testing and evaluations and psychiatric assessments to exactly see what was going on, from the behavior change from before I went to jail to after I went to jail to after I had the baby. It just was a different child. And he wouldn't talk to me. He wouldn't, everything's fine, nothing happened, I'm okay, but it's reflecting in his behavior. So the 12th of February of 2021, my children was removed. An investigation was open. My husband at the time was at work. and he had to get off from work to this interesting news, and our children was able to be placed with their godparents and our spiritual leaders at our church. And it has literally been hell since. It's still open. Another thing that I'm not crazy about the fact that there's nothing wrong with trying to make sure a child is protected and in a safe environment with the family or outside relatives or whomever, but the parents matter too. You cannot hold me accountable or my husband accountable because life just happened to be lifing at a bad time. In an honest aspect, of course, I'm not the easiest person every day, all the day to speak with, conduct business with. I've definitely said some ill words to my caseworker, my first caseworker at the time. She did some conflict of interest. The first example was pretty much speaking to the psychiatrist, Dr. A, aka Dr. Quack, that decided that after she spoke to him, now his opinion that could have been something different, as if he's not already on their side, is now different. Well, I'm sorry, became different to the point to where I sounded in the assessment like a complete nut job. I sounded as if though I hated my son. And I also have a very similar assessment evaluation results to my husband's, which I find very interesting. I immediately asked for a second evaluation. The second evaluation is night and day, and it is so spot on accurate to me as a person. It's crazy. So I'm going to shut up for a second and just off of what you're hearing so far, because that's not even including me being pregnant and not knowing it at the time. So that's 3, 4, baby born in. Case plan completed before February 12th, 2021, had our son 6/6/21. Case plan completed with my husband doing voluntary anger management with no referral and or recommendation on his own. That was completed before we gave birth to our son. I was tested without my knowledge at a doctor's office for drugs and whatnot, and I was in a detox at the time from marijuana. But because you are kind of plus size, it tends to stick to fat cells, along with me not knowing I was pregnant. So the doctor not only sent that to DCF, according to law, of course, I guess she had to, whatever have you. She went and told these people, I told her I smoke every day, eat hot dogs and ice cream. Lady, have you lost your mind? So I don't want you to get a headache. I don't want to take you to Georgia and back. But like I said, this is some of the reason I wanted to go last, because it literally just gets better and better.
Miss G, did you want to say something?
I did, but
Go ahead.
how old was your son when you spanked him?
7.
And how hard? Like, I mean, you spanked him because you're what? Just
Was angry because he was stealing out of a store.
he was stealing out of the store.
Yes.
Okay.
You want me to talk about the rest?
Did you try to talk to him instead of spanking him? Try talking to him?
I had gotten to a place where I had stopped spanking altogether because it was my oldest daughter that was getting spankings. It was also one of those type of things to where, without realizing that's what I was doing at the time, showing favoritism to the baby of the bunch at the time, which was my youngest son, E, and pretty much not taking my oldest daughter word for face value when she would tell me, no, mommy, that was him. That was, well, I call him Pumpkin. That was Pumpkin, mommy. Pumpkin did this. And I was like, but you know better, and this, that, and the third. So then we start doing the wall sits. We start doing tire flips. We start doing extra choirs. We start writing sentences. But I have a history on my criminal record of stealing out of stores at one point in time. My thing is, I've always mentally looked at stuff, working on this as well. Worst case scenario, if they would have caught him, because I caught him, the store didn't caught him. He was pretty much eating the candy that he took, put it in his boxers type of thing at home. And I'm like, I didn't buy that. Where'd you get that from? Mommy, he took that off the shelf when you had your back turned. Oh, really? Worst case scenario, these people in the security go back, look at the footage. They see him doing what he's doing. They see the parent. They zoom in on my face. They make an affidavit. They look at my history. You trained that child to steal. You did such and such and such. So I was infuriated. I was not right for spanking him when I was angry and or disciplining him in that light while I was angry. But it happened. So
I understand shit happens and life happens rather. And I get it. I understand that. I just, me personally, I don't spank children and they do something wrong. I just don't like that. But anyways, when you went when you went to when you went to when you had communication with the social worker, did you threaten her in any way?
I don't believe so. I might have said a couple of ill words. I might have definitely used some profanity. I do not believe I threatened her. I don't think I was being that much of a savage.
But let me just say this: whether you were mean to them or not, whether you spanked your child or not, if they come after you, they're going to take your child or your children, regardless. If one bad report made against you and say it's completely false, you and your husband had nothing to do with anything, they will still remove your children and your unborn child. They will wait for and remove that child too. So either way, whether you did bad or in their eyes or you did nothing, they will still come after you. So don't hold yourself. I mean, don't beat yourself over what life did. I mean, life happens, like we all know. You were hormonal. You didn't know you were pregnant. First of all, right? So you were hormonal, not knowing what's going on with you at the time. And I believe that's what happened. And what is your attorney doing right now to get your kids back home? I mean, that's the biggest question here.
Well, I can answer that. First off,
Introduce
my
yourself.
name is Charlie McLeod. I'm her husband. Well, I can't speak about her lawyer, but I've had a pretty decent lawyer. But if I'm being 100% honest, not really too much. It's to a point where now, trying to file this suit against our first initial social worker. I know. Um, I've even been having a lot of things. For an example, it was court ordered that we was to get makeup visits last year. In the state of Florida, you have 60 days to comply or to attempt to try to put this together, but to no avail. They did not, to the point where I believe I believe that's called contempt when the judge order you to do something and you fail to comply. Still have yet to get that situated. There's been a couple of falsified information, which is why when my wife brought up the paperwork, I said, well, that's perfect, because at this point, all of the falsified evidence, what I'm saying, that they actually turned in to the court to make them prove it, because it's very far-fetched. It's very, very superfluous. And very uneven. It's to a point where our original caseworker went so far as to try to get our spiritual leader not to preach at her church. Even went so far as to try to say that, because our first lady, an apostle, they was having a couple issues with security, so she reached out to try to get some security set up, and they promised her that that they was going to do this, only to not do that. Not only that, to not even a security camera, to get a baby monitor.
Baby monitor.
Now this is how long was they with Apostle?
It's close to 8 months.
Now in those 8 months, they never financially helped them. They did everything on their own. You know what I'm saying? We tried, we helped out as much as we could. When the case first started, our original caseworker even went so far as to say that we couldn't even attend church, which I found out through, later, that was not only false, but that's illegal. You can't withhold us from spiritual counsel, which makes no sense, because how are we not allowed to go to church full of people just because our kids was there?
Sweetheart, let me interrupt you for a second. Who told
No
you
problem.
you cannot go to church?
That's what our original caseworker said. She said, matter of fact, it was so to the point where she was telling us one thing, but telling them something else, to the point where they was afraid to even send pictures. And, we were just trying to get an understanding.
We could not get in-person visitation, court ordered every week, because of COVID, and because my older 2 children are not biologically his. They didn't allow him to even see or talk to them for almost close to a year, only for the children of Juvenile Justice Center. Now, mind you, in the case plan with the visitation, it says either the CJC, Children's Justice Center, or a approved third-party person. Come to find out, the same individuals that had our children could have been doing the visitations all along. So,
but not only that, I actually brought it up to the court, before being muted. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, going against the oath of complete fairness. So how is it possible that we can't see our kids at church when church is full of people? You know what I'm saying?
Church has
and at that time, we was doing live services. You know what I'm saying? Because of COVID and everything. There was a lot of things that it was just unfathomable, because it was like, I was pretty much done with my case plan. The only thing that I was waiting on was my psychological evaluation. But
let me stop you. I want them they understand, both of us, but right now, the last thing that I said was about how when we completed our case plan before we had Mr. Juicy.
I was getting that. I got you though. So like, only thing I had left was that. Now, but because of COVID, it delayed a lot of stuff. And it's, it was like they would try to really hang us for just about anything. Like, I've taken off of work to go to get to a visit, only to be told that it was canceled and that we were contacted, only to look through my records, and y'all never contacted us in any kind of form. So now I'm missing work for no reason.
Hold on, let me say something. That I was just about to say what he just said, that situation. So we all had iPhones. Right now we don't, but we're definitely going to get those back. But we had iPhones at the time when this first transpired, and I told her in advance, when she became our case manager, that if she catches us in the time period where she cannot reach us, because we was on a jointed plan, and it says our line is off, through internet Wi-Fi that we're frequently around, you can still FaceTime audio, FaceTime video, email. So this is something that I brought up to her on numerous occasions, and she used those outlets when the time was necessary. What happened was, she had begun to stir the pot. I and my husband met with her for a parent engagement meeting. I told her the last time that I spoke to the leaders of our church was when we was about to send funds for a Pacific event. She took that and said, hey, my client, my parent says that you only contact her when it's time for her to send money, making these people seem as if though I made them seem to be gold diggers. causing a complete division in our relationship. We did not speak to them anymore any further. They believed what she said because their whole mindset was, what does this case manager have to lie on the parent about? She didn't know these things, so she has to be telling the truth.
Well,
So
Chloe,
once that happened,
Chloe, let me just, you just said something that I've been talking about for years. They do turn your friends against you. They turn your family against you. Unfortunately, these families and family members and friends do not understand the demonic strategy of a social worker, right? So they don't understand that. So
Mhm.
they're going to believe the social workers over you. They're going to think what they're telling them is set in stone. Get it? So this is not your friend, not the godparents' fault, by the way. They don't know. They
no,
don't know. They have no idea.
no, ma'am, I didn't take it like that. I was just using that along with,
Oh no, no,
to kind
no.
of paint
I
the
took it like that
paint
for
the
the simple
picture.
fact that because as a spirit, as a leader in general, I don't know if y'all are spiritual or anything. It says
I
know those that worship among you. How can you take somebody's word without even asking?
exactly.
To go so far as to excommunicate first, because it was set up in a way that she said it. I
Right.
had nothing to do with that because at the time, I was already kind of pre-warned about it. So I try to, hold my peace. I try not to, say too much. Just what y'all need me to do. Did that. It was even to a point. So my mom had cancer. We found out she had cancer, and I brought it to the judge, and I was like, well, is it possible that could my mother at least see her grandkids? You know what I'm saying? She got cancer, and, I don't know how, how long that's going to be or whatever, because she was in the process of, going to the Moffitt Center here in Hillsborough County.
Mm.
The judge pretty much said, no, we'll just, swap that under the rug.
Wow.
Mind you, my mother, she's in custody of my sister's two kids in a case. She's been having them for about 10 years now. So she, she's well acquainted with the caseworkers, with the system. My mother even went so far as to try to get our kids, but they denied her because her husband in 72 was caught during the service of the military with marijuana. They discharged the case, but for whatever reason, they was like, oh, well, they don't qualify because of this. And this is like, that doesn't make any sense, because last time I have a family full of military. Military does not play the radio about certain things. And for y'all to go so far as to deny them when they have already even opened up to my mom is registered as a foster mom. You know what I'm saying? That y'all just went so far to say that she couldn't get them. We've had a lot of miscommunication with our caseworkers, and I say caseworkers plural, to the point that 3 times in court, 3 separate occasions, the judge asked them on record to get our information. I gave them my email, my phone number. I've always I've been bad with phones. I lose the phone in a heartbeat. So, but I've always with my side profession as a producer, I always try to make sure that if nothing else, I can get in contact with my email. Said if y'all can't call me, email me, which obviously they never really did. They've always made excuses, especially during COVID. They was like, oh, we.
I think this young man wants to ask you something.
Where are you guys at now? Like, where does this sit? What questions you guys have for Mr. Davis about what is going on? Like, obviously, you guys have a very detailed story that you could probably spend hours on. And
Well,
we know that how this works. We know that they change these people, but what specifically do you guys have for Mr. Davis? Like, what kind of questions do you guys have for him to answer?
Well, the first question would be, after we filed the civil suit on a federal level, what is a good way to be able to get the what is it called, the when you're in court, the paperwork, because everything in court is recorded.
Expedited.
Are you talking about the declaration
No, I'm talking about the just
transcript
the manuscripts. Yes, the
or
manuscripts.
transcript? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
You order the transcripts from the court. You go to, if there's I know they have a file room You just go there and they will direct you on how to use it. Now it's online, and
Okay.
then you log in, and then you order the transcripts. So depending on the date, the year, when it happened, you can order that. Or they can direct you on how you need to order it. I don't know if in Florida is different, but they can direct you.
Yeah, they charge you per page, and with
$1,600.
yeah, it's a
I'm sorry,
lot of
what?
papers.
I'm
Ladies,
sorry, what?
$1,600.
you
For
know,
what?
if you have a
For one
communication problem,
page?
if you have
Oh
a
no, it's for all of it.
communication
Oh,
problem,
$1,600 for all the transcripts?
Yes, ma'am.
How many
if you,
transcripts are we talking about, though?
3 cases into one. We've just recently had another baby. Okay, so
Wait. Before we get into
Wait,
that,
wait. So it's so $1,600 for all the transcripts, and you need the transcripts for your federal case? Is that what
yes,
I'm hearing?
ma'am. To prove that they have not only been lying with what they filed to be true, but to also like they had ordered my wife to do a drug screen. The judge specifically said if the first one was good, that she did not have to do that again. But in that next staffing meeting, they tried to say, "Oh no, you need to do 5."
and what I was going to say to make it make sense, after doing
My knees. Hold this for a second.
okay, after pretty much completing what I believe, because I completed it last, my husband completed it first, which would probably put him at maybe either early May or ending February of 2021. Case plan completed, housing, job, vehicle, kids had their
Okay,
own
so
rooms.
you completed everything, but so
We
you're
Go
trying
ahead.
to sue them, right, for violating your rights, right, and the children's rights.
Right. So moving along a little bit further, because the spiritual leaders asked for help with my son, what had happened was
Hold on. Let me explain that for you because you're going to take them to Georgia back.
no, I'm not. Let me talk. You've been talking. Give me a second.
Okay.
So my son pretty much disclosed with his godmother that he had been sexually touched by his biological father. After pretty much attempting to press criminal charges against him, attempting to interview him, attempting to figure out exactly what all happened, what's going on, he pretty much advises the investigator that asked, well, why didn't you speak to your mother? Oh, I didn't want my mommy to hurt my daddy, type of thing. Moving forward, he began to act out the more. He was Baker acted. He was handcuffed. He was sent to a facility here against my wishes. He was put on Risperdal, 1.5, Guanafase, and Lexapro.
And that was after our spiritual leader had written a letter to the judge and the mayor concerning the counselor that was involved in his counseling, that it was not only inefficient, but apparently from what we was told, all they really did was just gave him some crayons and had him draw. And he, and instead of helping him with his real actual issues, they went so far to say that they was traumatized with our spiritual leaders. And as soon as they took them from them, they literally just threw him on medication
and moved them to foster care. At one point in time, we didn't know where Pumpkin was. He was night to night, and as we began,
he wasn't even eating.
As we began to get a new caseworker, there was a time when I had went to visit him where he pretty much told me that he was hungry. And I'm just rushing to the visit. I'm not thinking about, oh, let me go get you some lunch or let me do this, let me do that. And I'm asking him, well, what is it like where you're at? And he's explaining to me he's pretty much eating snacks at pretty much getting to whomever he's going to that night around close to 11 o'clock. He's not liking the medicine. He spits the medicine out. And moving forward, at one point in time, they was the older two was in the same facility in St. Pete. Upon going to this facility, he was disrupted. That's when the whole Baker acting thing started. That's when the whole medication thing started. And our oldest, pretty much, she pretty much was able to start contacting me on the phone. Pretty much had advised me about different things that had been transpiring. One thing that was very disturbing was Miss Ashley shoulder checked me in the hallway. And I said, she did what? She said, yeah, she shoulder checked me in the hallway, and she told me that if she didn't want to lose her job for having to put her hands on anyone. And I said, oh, how long ago was this? She's like, Mommy, I really didn't want to tell you, but this happened weeks ago. I said, is Miss Ashley present? She said, yes, ma'am. I said, can you take her the phone and put it on speakerphone? She's like, well, it's on speakerphone, and I'm gonna try to take her the phone. She doesn't want to talk. I said a lot of different things about not threatening my child and some more unnecessary comments.
That's the thing. That's the thing that a lot of parents make mistakes doing. You guys talk too much to the worker.
Mhm.
You guys talk too much. Why? They're not your friends. They're not your therapists. They're not your spiritual leaders to vent that with. They're not. They're no one to you. So but
You
guys
broke up. You broke up in that last sentence, Miss G.
Yeah,
They're
no
they're not is what I last caught.
Yeah. They're literally you're literally attacking a demon. If you're a Christian like I am, we're not fighting against flesh and blood. You know that.
Mhm.
So you guys know that these are demons in high places, right? They're
Right.
literally using human bodies to do their evil work. So what you guys need all to understand, the attacks against them, all this, I want to be mama bear, and all this, I'm going to protect. No, you don't protect your kids that way with demons. That's not how you protect them. Aside from praying, of course, aside from humbling yourself in front of God and pray, you need to be wise when you talk to these people.
Mhm.
Let your yes be yes and let your no be no. If they ask you a question, don't just offer them information not needed.
Right.
See, that's where parents go wrong. You tend to talk too much and hear less, and then the social worker loves it
Mm-hmm.
because you're literally handling yourself all by yourself.
Honestly, Miss G, that's pretty much what transpired on my end. My husband is more of the humble one, and of course, I have now learned the gift of shut up. I just believe that there's a way to respectfully voice your opinion, and I never start out at 100. But of course, that's never taken in consideration. One thing that I was about to mention with the whole situation of the communication of the visitation during court, she pretty much stated that she contacted us, which is why she canceled the visit.
Mhm.
After my husband was speaking, I respectfully asked the judge, could I chime in? And I told them the information that I told you all about the iPhone, iPhone to iPhone, iMessage to iMessage, the ways that we could have been contacted. And I reiterate that to the judge. And immediately she snaps back and says, well, she didn't respond back to my text message. Miss X, Y, and Z, I will not accept that from you in my courtroom. That is not an excuse to not properly notify a parent that their visitation has been canceled. We did not discover our visitation had been canceled until we got there in person in downtown Tampa, 5 o'clock traffic, raining, just freshly has opened up to the public because we was looking at our kids, a baby under 1 year old, through a camera. Oh. So
right now,
from there, moving forward.
let me ask you real quick. Right now, the kids are in foster homes. Are they divided in foster homes right now? Are they separated in different homes?
My two kids are with my father. Prior to not only not having the knowledge that they was doing that, because we had somebody else, because like I said, we stay in Hillsborough County. My dad stays in Jacksonville, Florida. And upon talking to my dad was already telling me that they had physically been taking them to go see him. Now, I looked into that. Now, I found out that over 60 miles unnotified, unless our parental rights was terminated, you got to at least let us know that's what's going on. We didn't find out until after everything has been said, settled, paperwork has been signed. I told even to the judge when my dad was there, and I told him I didn't really feel comfortable with my kids being there because my dad is really big on family, and his brother had molested me when I was younger. So that was a real big, thing for me. So I had my auntie. My auntie, she's a nurse. So we was planning on, to the point that my auntie was really waiting on DCF to get back with her after they had cleared her to get him. After they had already did the home study, but went out their way to do something completely different. Now, upon that, my dad even went so far on record in court to say that he didn't even want me at his house. Now, mind you, before then, me and my dad, we have a very interesting relationship. But at the end of the day, I tell my dad like this. I told him, my dad was asking me why I didn't tell him about it. I said, well, Dad, I didn't really want you involved because it's a lot of fraudulent stuff going on. And at the end of the day, they're not going to do nothing but make you a scapegoat.
So we can't because at one point in time, they was using my husband's vehicle, giving $25 in gas to go from one place in Tampa that's a nice 30 minutes away.
No, that's not even really Tampa. That's what's that, Silver Springs? I was driving with 25 bucks from Silver Springs, turning around, going to St. Pete, then picking up my other son in Tampa, only to have a little bit of limited time to turn around and take everybody back home.
You missing a place.
And
you forgot about Fish Hawk Creek in the boonies on the outside.
Well, that's Silver Springs.
No,
hey guys, you do have a
Silver.
Hey guys,
Yeah, and
you have a lot to talk about. I understand that, but we're coming to an end of the show, and
Right.
Attorney Davis is still waiting for your questions. Honestly, ask him the questions that you need. Don't talk anymore about your story. We already heard it, unless you want to come back for another day to continue. But I would rather you get the benefit of this rather than walk out empty-handed. So ask him the right questions.
Okay, so what is the best way to go about this particular situation because like I was saying earlier, I already got the paperwork. Just got to go to the court, get it filled out, get it. What is the best way to go about trying to, because they're trying to terminate our rights right now, to go about handling this in court, but without it biting us in the behind later?
Okay, so when you say handle it, what do you mean handle what?
As far as not just the inconsistencies, because like I was saying, my lawyer is pretty decent. Hold on. Inefficient. Me and my mother, we have a family lawyer.
Hold on, he said timeout.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just give me one word answer. When you said handle it, did you mean the civil rights case or the CPS case?
The civil rights case, sir.
Okay. The best way for you to handle it is to go talk to maybe about 3 or 4 different civil rights attorneys in your area.
Okay.
Get their opinion and get their advice.
Okay.
And maybe hire one of them.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. Your wife mentioned 42 USC 1983. The law on 42 USC 1983 is very complex and fairly sophisticated in terms of legal analysis. Now, I'm not trying to make a personal comment about you, but I doubt that you can do this by yourself.
Of course.
I use this story all the time. My mechanic told me I needed a new transmission. Guess what I didn't do? I didn't go to Pep Boys and buy the new transmission. I didn't buy the tools. I didn't buy the supplies. I didn't go to one of these do-it-your-place shops and put my car up on a hoist and try to figure out what's going wrong. You know why? Because I'm a pretty smart guy, but I don't know anything about changing transmissions. Nothing at all. And I would bet $1 that you know nothing about 42 USC 1983, that you know enough about it to win. It's hard enough if you do know something about it to sue these social workers and win. Right? It's hard.
Yes, sir.
It's a lot of work. So please don't think that you can just look it up on Google and figure out what to do.
Right.
Yes, sir.
I don't know, because I don't know your case well enough. I don't know if you even have a good case. Before you start down this road of trying to do it yourself, you need to get an opinion to say, do you have a good case?
Okay.
Okay. Now, just as an
Uh-oh.
attorney for 37 years, let's say in the past 10 years, I filed cases, civil rights cases that I thought were great cases, and I lost them. And I filed civil rights cases that were I didn't think were that good, and I won them. So you never know where you are in a civil rights case until you talk to a lawyer, until you start doing discovery, you know, and you tell that story. We've only been on the line here for 50 minutes, and I can tell you, in order to find out if you have a viable civil rights case, that's going to be a conversation that's going to take hours over several days.
Yes, sir.
So if you're just
All right.
trying to bring a civil rights case because you think it's going to help you get your child back, you're mistaken.
Okay.
And I generally tell people, you may not want to file a civil rights case until you get the kids back. Because one of the easiest way to lose a civil rights case right at the beginning, and it will prevent you from suing the social worker again later, right at the beginning, you bring a lawsuit and you don't even have custody of the kids.
Yes, sir.
Now, that's not true for all cases. All right. But, that's why I say go sit down and talk to a civil rights attorney.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead, ma'am. You were raising your hand.
Yes, sir. So how you said you don't know if we would possibly have a civil rights case, the time frame from
No.
note taking from your videos
Hold on a second.
is important.
Hold on. I want to clarify something that you just said. And maybe I wasn't clear. I don't know. When I say I don't know if you have a viable civil rights case, what I mean is, do you have a case that's going to win? You could walk to court tomorrow and file a lawsuit, but that doesn't mean you're going to win.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I talk to so many people. I got a slam dunk case, Mr. Davis. There's no such thing. There's really no such thing.
Nope.
So
Mm,
talk to a lawyer to see if you have a case that you're going to win. I don't know if you've considered this, but in order to win a case, there's a lot of expense that has to be spent on things like depositions, videotape depositions,
right.
experts. Generally, you can't win a case without one or two experts. They charge about $5,000 a day. Some of them want $10,000-15,000 up front.
And the depositions too, they're very expensive. God knows it's expensive.
So there's a lawyer who I spoke to this several years ago. He was suing a social worker in LA County, and I talked to him, and he told me that before the case got to trial, before you even got in front of the jury, he had spent almost $200,000.
Mm.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, he told me that he would never do that again because if he lost that case, he was going bankrupt.
Mhm.
That's one of the reasons why social workers aren't really concerned about whether you're going to sue them, because you don't have the money to sue them. Even if not a lot of lawyers, not all, but not a lot of lawyers are going to take a civil rights case against a social worker who has qualified immunity to begin with on a straight contingency fee basis and pay all the expenses. A few days
Right.
ago, a man from Pennsylvania got pissed off at me because I wouldn't take his civil rights case on a contingency fee basis and to pay all the expenses of the lawsuit.
Right.
I told the guy, I said, look, this is not an automobile fender bender case. And you're not down the street and around the corner from my office. You're in Pennsylvania.
Right.
You know what he said? He said, you can afford it, Mr. Davis.
Mm,
In other words, he wanted me to finance his lawsuit, and we don't even know each other like that.
right.
First time I talked with him.
Mhm.
Right.
So
Wait.
my one advice to people who have civil rights cases and can't afford to do it, and they need the help from the lawyer. It's like dating. Take them out to coffee first, right? Then
Right.
take them out to dinner. Go to get to second base, get to third base. Don't go for the grand slam home run on the first phone call. It ain't gonna work.
Wait. Let me ask you a question. Hold on.
Yeah.
Just hold on. Okay, then let me ask you this, Mr. Davis. What key points would make for a good case in a civil rights case against a social worker? Like,
Did you see your wife?
yeah, I see her. I'm just trying to get these main questions as
Wait.
far as how to
Hold
move
on.
Let me tell you
forward.
the first. Let me tell you the first one. The husband and wife, they got to be on the same page because you're
Mhm.
about to sue the social worker, and you guys can't be fighting between yourselves.
Right.
Okay. So
Okay,
not to
back
cut
up
you
there.
off, what I was gonna say,
Hold on. Give me a second.
what I was going to say was, I'm no expert.
Did you want me to answer his question or just forget what he said?
I want you to help us, please.
Okay. Listen more, talk less.
Can I
I've
just
been
give
doing
them
that.
can I just
The-
give them
the-
a discount and have her do the coaching and consulting with you?
This is the issue. I'm gonna give you a lot of information
Okay,
within a
we're
less
just
than a
going to
minute
forget
time
his
frame.
question. Forget his question. Go ahead.
Okay.
Ask your question.
My question is, okay, you have CPS can't ignore just about anything when you have an open CPS case going on. The parents have completed their case
Wait,
plan.
hold on. You're going to ask me a question that generally starts with what, where, how, why. Don't tell
Okay.
me a story. Just ask me the question. Just spit it out.
I'll be honest, I don't know how exactly to spit it out because I needed to make sense.
Okay, let's answer your
When I
husband's
got injured and I got shot, before that we had an arson. Someone attempted to do this to the apartment. I came home to it after work. The investigator came to the hospital. Hello, Chloe. I know who you are. I know you don't have your kids. I know that this type of car and you have not been getting along. And I know that this person possibly also did this thing at your house last week. So if you don't talk to me, I'm just going to talk to DCF and tell them what I think I know.
Mm-hmm.
My issue is, number one,
Chloe, hold
I'd
on.
rather talk to you after I have an attorney. Number two, I'd rather talk to you when I'm not under the influence. You know, them people just shot me up with Percocets and everything else, preparing me for surgery. What do I look like? Boo boo the fool? So they're correlating this stuff in the case to make it seem as if though, because I didn't speak to her, because I felt as if though you already have your mind made up, you're mandated. That's my first
Hold
question.
on, Chloe, stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chloe, you're not
Hold up. Stop,
Okay.
Miss G.
Oh.
Chloe, Miss G mentioned to you about 10 minutes ago we were coming to the end of the show. Now, you know what? I'm going to tell Grace, my producer, to have you back on. Okay? Because you apparently have a lot more to say and a lot more story to tell. And I don't mind getting in.
What I was trying to say was, ever since I had got muted just now, every word broke up.
I'm sorry. I muted you so I could talk without being interrupted.
Now it's choppy.
We are way past, we're 15 minutes past the end of the show. I would love to invite you back. I'm telling Grace, the producer, who's watching the show with us, running the show, to call Chloe back and set up another time. Now, Chloe, what's going to make this more effective? What's going to make this more effective is if I can just talk to one of you, because when you guys double team me, it really takes away from the flow and the communication. I hope you can see that. So I don't mind talking to you. I don't mind talking to your husband. I can talk to you for one whole show, and I can bring your husband on another whole show, and we can talk about that as well. Because we do these shows every day, 365 days a year. So we have nothing but time to bring you back on and talk about your case. Is that fair?
Just have questions written. It would be easier for you guys to get the right information. I don't think she can hear us.
I think she froze.
Froze.
I think she froze as well.
She's doing it. Perfect.
Well, Chloe, I hope you heard me.
Let him
I'll remove.
Oh, there she went.
Oh,
Oh,
Since I said something about the mute thing, I wasn't offended. I literally I literally have heard nothing that you've said since I said something about being muted, which is why I was using that as an example to let you know where I lost you in the conversation. It's been buffering, muted, unmuted. I haven't seen no one's face, heard a sound. I heard bits and pieces.
having those,
What did I miss?
you're having internet difficulties, Chloe. So,
It's on the show. You can listen to it after.
Chloe, I'm going to have Grace call you and reschedule you. We
What
really
did I
have come to the end of the show. Mr. Guai, Ms. Truen, thank you very much for joining me this evening. One of the things I hope you guys picked up or noticed, how important communication is, how important listening is. It makes all the difference in the world in your CPS case, especially when you're testifying in court. Okay, folks, we'll see everyone tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Good night.